How to manifest money miracles. Anybody interested? I think I know the answer to that. Well, I'm excited about my very special guest. I said to him before we started recording, I believe that God has him in this season during these times for such a time as this. Joel S. Solomon is a former hedge fund manager, now master prosperity coach. He is a best-selling author. I think he's getting ready to write his fourth book. He's been featured in or on TED Talk, where he taught on how to create money miracles. Been featured in Forbes, Bloomberg, Newsday, U.S. News, iHeartRadio, and CEO Money. And just from everything that I'm reading, I can tell you that he is certainly an expert in this field. And I feel during times like this, really called by the Spirit to share. If you're watching this, he's fresh off of his vacation. He has a tan like me. And we're going to talk to you about money today. So, Joel Solomon, welcome back to the Law of Attraction Radio Network.
Thank you, Constance, so much for having me back. I am so grateful, and it's really, really an honor to be here. So thank you so much.
How have you been?
I've been great. I just spent some quality time with my daughter Lauren, who turned 21 a couple months ago. And my company name, by the way, is named after my daughter's Lore for Lauren, Moore for Morgan. So yeah, I was really grateful to spend time with her. It was the longest time we had gone without seeing each other since the day she was born. She's spending a semester studying abroad in London, and so it was over 2 months without seeing her. So I was grateful for this past week.
Well, let's get started. So, what's going on with money and with the stock market and with the exchange and tariffs and people are feeling some kind of way. So what do you, I don't even know where to start. What should people be doing about their money concerns, their money worries, their mindset? I know that's a big question, but we'll start there.
Well, I teach my clients that worry is negative future planning.
Mm,
Worry is negative future planning. You're thinking about what you don't want to happen. So why not think about what you do want to happen? You do want to become abundant. You do want to become prosperous. You do want to become financially free. I think most people do. And so focus there. And rule number one in the nine money rules millionaires use, my second book, is when you believe. So,
mm.
what's your belief? I tell my clients to write down their level of belief from 1 to 10, where 10 is absolute faith. I know I'm going to make money in this investment, and one is massive doubt. There's no way I'm ever going to make money in this investment. And I tell them to write down their number before they invest. And then every 90 days, update that number. And it should be based on a process. I teach a 5-step stock screen, my proprietary 5-step stock screen. But if you're investing in real estate or crypto, there's different processes I teach. But after I teach the process and somebody picks an investment, I tell them to write down their level of belief. Because if you're not at least a 7, 8, 9, or 10, you're going to be selling when you should be buying and buying when you should be selling. And I know it's very emotional. It's the only place in the world where when things get cheaper, you sell as opposed to buy. If you got 30% off your suit or your mani pedi or your facial or your massage, you jump at the chance. But when a security, a property, or your crypto or your stock goes down 20 or 30%, you get really fearful and worry, and then you start thinking about the worst possible case. So that's the mindset piece of it, right? So I teach mindset and strategy. You got to have both. You have to have a really positive mindset, belief system, but you also have a process. And having a process and not just saying, okay, somebody else is managing my money, they have the problem, they're going to figure it out. Well, you have to take responsibility for your life, and you have to take responsibility for your money and your prosperity and your abundance. So when we have volatility, there's new tariffs being introduced into the marketplace, and certain securities may be worth less because their cost of doing business is higher. Then you have to reevaluate the value of those securities, but it doesn't necessarily mean you need to sell. Maybe the value of the security is still much higher than it is after it's gone down 20 or 30 or 40% or 10%. And maybe the security is worth 50 or 80% more instead of 40 or 70% more. So there's the mindset and the strategy and the process. And it's really important to have both.
I agree
And
with that.
operating out of fear or worry is not serving you. That's a vibration that's down here. And recognizing where you are in your emotional guidance scale is really critical when you're looking at your investments. Now, over the last week or so, we've had the market go down 4, 5, 6%. The overall stock market in the US go down 4 to 6% a few days, and then go up almost 10% in one day. And that those kinds of movements, big moves, create opportunities to make a lot of money. And they also create opportunities for people who are vibrating down here in fear and worry to lose a lot of money. I will tell you that it's really important to figure out where you're vibrating before you make a decision. Because if you're operating in fear and worry, again, you're going to be selling when you should be buying and buying when you should be selling. So figure out where you are on the emotional guidance scale. Are you vibrating up here in joy, passion, appreciation, gratitude? Then making decisions from that place of high vibration will create more abundance and prosperity. But if you're down here in worry and fear, anger, and so on, sadness, depression, those low vibration frequencies are stopping you from creating the abundance you deserve in your life.
I
So I'll
love that.
pause there. There's a lot there, but I'll
Yeah.
pause there. And I'm sure
And
there's
and
more.
let's talk about folk because they sent me questions for you, Joel. Um, let's talk about folk who may uh their 401k maybe went down and I think you answered that. But what should people do, instead of worrying about higher prices with eggs and I don't have enough money? What about the whole lack, scarcity, not enough mentality in this current environment that we are living in?
Let's talk first about 401ks and retirement
Okay.
funds. And if you are truly investing for retirement, and hopefully you're much younger than I am, and so you're not within, and by the way, I don't plan to retire, so uh, I plan to continue to invest and do prosperity coaching for the next 30, 40, 50 years until I move to the other side, to the non-physical. But if you have 10, 20, 30 years to retirement, you should not be making short-term investment decisions for long-term money.
Ooh, that's wisdom.
And and so it's different if you need the money and you have a 1 year, a 2 year, 3 year time horizon. I'd say if you have a 1 year or less time horizon, you probably should not be investing in the stock market. Maybe you have a portion of your money, but not 100% in the stock market. So really, if you have monies for retirement and it's 5, 10, 15, 20 years out, these are fluctuations where you can actually take advantage of and invest more. And the whole idea of buy low, sell high. The markets, last week was 10%, 15% lower than it was just a few weeks ago. So some securities were down 20, 30% or more. And so you got investments that were much, much cheaper. So why not buy at a good price for the long term? Because 10, 15, 20 years out, these securities are going to be worth a lot more. And so that's an important point to understand what you're investing for, what your time horizon is.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a day or a week, you probably, I mean, there are traders out there I know who are investing for a day or a week, but the people I'm coaching, and I'm sure the people who are watching this podcast are long-term investors. And so they're probably not traders. They're probably not watching I suspect that your audience are not short-term stock investing traders.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it's a longer term investment horizon. Don't get caught up in the emotions of the day and think long term and continue on the track of investing consistently day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. So that's on the investing side. On the other side, when your cost of living is going higher because of maybe because of tariffs, but maybe just because of supply demand imbalances that are continuing to go through the system years after the pandemic, or for other reasons. You can choose abundance or you can choose scarcity.
How do we do
And
that? When you say choose it, you mean without thinking?
yes, so I teach be, do, have, as opposed to most people are white knuckling it. They feel like they have to make matter to move matter to make matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's all this kind of work. But I believe that when you are vibrating in abundance, when you're being abundant, you're attracting more and more prosperity and abundance in your life. So, how do you do that? What can you do to act as if you're already abundant? You're already where you want to be. So, what would you do if you had plenty of money to pay for these higher prices? What would you be? This happened last week in London. A guy I was with was apparently in London. They have this higher pricing, congestion pricing for traveling in London
Mm-hmm.
during the, like they have that in Manhattan now too, but they've had it there for a number of years. So he was trying to figure out how to finagle moving through London to avoid, I don't know how much it was, £10, £20 charge. And there was so much brain matter, worry, and fear about these few pounds that his stress level went up, his fear level went up. And I gave him some affirmations to do to act as if he was already in a place where 10 quid, 15 pounds is not a big deal. And if you're acting abundant, you would say, okay, I can manifest 15 pounds, $15 like that. And if you know that and you're being in that vibration of, okay, I can attract abundance in minutes and days, I know it's coming, and say things like it's a good thing I'm rich, but don't say if you don't believe it. You could soften it and say, soon I will be rich, or I allow myself to become prosperous, or lucrative opportunities always come my way. Say things you believe in and act as if. What can you do? How would you operate if you were had plenty of money? You had more than enough income to cover your expenses. How would you be operating? And I'm not saying go into debt to do this.
I
You can do
got you.
research. You can go do research online and say, okay, if I had plenty of extra savings, plenty of extra investments, where would I invest? Do some
Yeah.
research or call a prosperity coach and have a 30-minute free coaching call. I give everybody 30 minutes free. Get on a call with me and let's strategize as if the money's about to flow with abundance.
I love that what I did 20 years ago, I said, these are the organizations I'm going to give to. Uh, and one was my mentor in Africa. I was going to send him money to dig wells and for him to use when he goes out into the bush to help people. So in my mind, 20 or 25 years ago, I already had my money designated before those large sums even came into my life. And I saw him saying, "Oh my God, Constance, thank you." So in my mind, I did that. I just want to share that, Joel.
Yeah, no, so that's rule number three. Actually, you combined a few things
I
there.
did.
Rule, so actually, sorry, rule number four is visualization. Can
Hmm.
visualization help you become financially free? And, obviously the answer is yes. And so I teach how to visualize. And so you can close your eyes and say, okay, this is going to happen. And rule number six, you were practicing giving. And that's another way to act as if. And I'm not saying like you have to give hundreds of thousands of dollars away, but when you give even a small amount, five,
Yeah.
10, $20, you're teaching your subconscious, I got plenty to spare and share.
I love that.
And you will soon enough. And then the other rule I kind of in there, which you just mentioned, was rule number five, which is gratitude.
Ah,
And so, how can you practice gratitude and appreciation for where you are and still want more? I'm not saying don't have goals and dreams, but write down in a notebook, get a gratitude journal, and write down five things you're grateful for and why every day. And do that at night, maybe before you go to sleep. So you're focused on gratitude and appreciation. And that will put you in a different vibration, and therefore you're acting as if. And you could, another thing that I've done, very powerful, I'm sure you've talked about vision boards in the past, Constance, but one thing, I was actually, this woman who was sitting next to me on the plane last night, I was telling her about this practice, which is really powerful. So you put together a vision board and you have pictures of yourself of places. Say you want to go to the island of Maldives and you want to give a speech there in front of 100 people, and they're on the beach and it's turquoise waters and it's a beautiful sunny 85-degree day, and you're in your swim trunks and you're doing your speech, and that's your dream. So you can get a picture of the Maldives and put that on the vision board. And you could have other pictures of you speaking, maybe other places, or maybe you have pictures of places that you've already been to, like Zurich or Interlaken or Tahiti. And you put those same pictures all on one vision board. So your subconscious can't really distinguish between what's already happened and what hasn't
mm,
happened yet. And it will create and help you create that conference, that retreat on the island of Maldives with the 100 people there because it can't distinguish. And you can do that with your screensaver as well. I have a screensaver and I have about 20 pictures that whenever I'm not on my computer, it comes up and it shows some pictures of places I've been, but places also I want to go to. Maybe it has, I'm a single dad, so I have a picture of a couple walking on the beach together holding hands. And then I have other things of places, picture me in Egypt or at the Taj Mahal. So my mind is, oh, that's already happened. That I'm already that couple walking on the beach. And so take doing these practices, visualizing, giving, providing, writing in your gratitude journal, all that can shift your vibration and get you away from lack and scarcity thinking to abundant thinking. And I say, stop looking so much about, prices, caring so much about, what eggs cost or, the price of this or that. And know that you came here to thrive, not just survive. And when you get into that mindset, then the money will flow. My Money Miracles membership members now have manifested 2,780 over 700 $2,780,000 in the last 3 years. And
I want to hear about some of those money miracles.
yes,
From your mastermind group. Joel, he doesn't know this. You are in the spirit today, my brother. This morning, God is my witness. I visualized Maldives. And that's where I haven't been there. But then I saw I wasn't necessarily speaking, but I was there. So that's something future. And oh, there it is. This morning. What popped up in my memories on social media were old pictures of me traveling to different places, and God is my witness. So I visualized the future, and then Katie uploaded for me that reel of me in different places in the world. And you just said that.
yeah,
How did
yeah,
you know
we're in
I was in
alignment.
the Maltese this morning?
Well, we
Oh,
we
wow.
are we're all connected. We're Constance. We're all connected. So there's infinite intelligence, and there's
Mm-hmm.
this stream of thought that infinite intelligence is accumulating all the thoughts of all beings on this earth and everyone else. So yeah, we're connected.
That's what that is amazing. So everybody who's listening, I don't care if you're in Europe, Africa, these are universal principles that apply to you. And so I was in the store the other day, Jewel, and so this lady said, "Yeah, I'm tending to my own little cute business." And standing in line, she said, "Can you believe the price of eggs?" And in my subconscious, not judging her, observing, I chose not to participate in that fear and become a part of that kind of collective consciousness. So people can choose their own vibration, their own emotional scale when it comes to money during these times.
Absolutely. And that's what I was saying with that guy I was spending some
Yeah.
time with a couple of days ago in London as we're driving around. I also could have just dropped my vibration to the fear and worry and scarcity and lack thinking of how can we avoid these 10-pound charge for congestion pricing? Or I suggested to him, why not choose it's a good thing I'm rich. It's a good thing I'm rich. And he does have plenty of money to pay the congestion pricing, but in his mind, he was worried about the extra charge. And the other important thing to understand is when you spend more time in the worry
Ooh,
vibration, in the, ooh, I'm worried about that extra 10 pounds, then you're creating a lower vibration, which will attract more things that will make you worry. So it's not serving you by how can I avoid this? Just pay it, move on. because the time he was spending worrying, trying to figure out how to avoid this small, relatively small charge, he could have been thinking abundant thoughts. He could have been manifesting 10, 20, $100 like that. But because he was vibrating down here, he probably was going to have, you know, a parking meter charge that he didn't
Mm-hmm.
expect. Right. And so when quote unquote not so good things happen in your life, you might want to check how you were vibrating in the day, the minutes or hours before that particular event happened. And when good things are manifesting in your life, you might want to think about how you were thinking, what you were thinking about, where you were vibrating in the minutes and hours before that, because when you put the two together, you'll notice that when you're happier, when you're joyous, when you're passionate, when you're having a good time, things are flowing, the money and abundance and prosperity are flowing, and you're having a good time. And when you're down here and, oh, like, oh, those eggs, then you go out to the parking lot and you got a ticket, right?
So true.
Because it's all low vibration energy that you're attracting. So you get to choose your thoughts, you get to choose your feelings. And one of my colleagues, Andy Dooley, who's a mindset coach, says, feeling first, manifestation second.
Ah, that's good.
Feeling first, manifestation second. So, how are you feeling? Because if you're feeling down here in sadness, depression, worry, fear, you see the stock market, you read the newspapers. By the way, I recommend not reading newspapers, but you're seeing the headlines, you're
Mm-hmm.
reading, you're spending all day watching TV news, checking your stock prices. One of the guys I met in London this week, he said to me, normally I check at the end of the day, maybe I check once a week, but the last week or so, I was checking 3 times a day. And I asked him, how are you feeling
Mm.
when you're checking? Because if you're feeling ecstatic, like, ooh, great opportunity, look at opportunities that are coming my way, let's buy some stuff, let's have a good time. That's a very different feeling than, oh, I just lost another $1,000. Oh my God, I can't afford this. That kind of vibration. If you're doing that 3 times a day, that's not
Yeah.
serving you. I had a client a few years ago, and when he came to me, he told me he was looking at his checking account 3 times a day,
Wow.
every day. And I asked him, how did it make him feel? He said, not good. I said, well, stop. You don't need to look 3 times a day. You could look once a week, and that'll right away improve your vibration. Because if every time you're looking, it's creating feelings of worry and fear, then you got to get to a higher state of vibration after looking at that. And probably you're not doing anything consciously to do that. So it may take some hours after you've checked out the account to get to a state that's even just stasis, like even balance, not saying getting up here into joy. So check yourself. What things you're doing throughout the day that are not serving your vibration, not serving your
Mm,
feeling.
that's
Feeling
good.
first, manifestation second.
I
And
love
you can
that.
take a break.
I
Go
love
ahead.
that. So I saw somebody ask you, you were answering a question, but you just answered it. They asked you, do your thoughts become things? And so sounds like you just said your thinking and your feeling creates manifestation.
Yeah, another question, a really interesting question. So
Mm-hmm.
rule number 2 in the 9 Money rules is trust your intuition.
Mm,
And another really interesting question. So yes, absolutely, thoughts, feelings create things. Thought is actually energy.
mm-hmm.
When you think a thought, you're creating some energy. It's been proven. And that energy can be up here vibration frequency or down here. and you get to choose your thoughts. And those thoughts, by the way, everything around you, Constance, that painting, that mirror, that chair you're sitting on, the table, the computer, at one point, those things were a thought in someone's head before they were created.
That's good. That's good.
Everything around us was a thought first, an idea, and then creation happened. So, and that thought created a frequency, a vibration first before it became a physical reality thing. So that's really important. But the other thing I was going to mention is a question I got, which is really important to understand, is we are powerful creators, and your intuition, some people call it your sixth sense, your instinct, is very powerful. And yet, when I was speaking in London, I was talking about intuition. I just talked about rule number one, belief.
Hmm.
Belief is everything. We've already talked about how important belief is. Write down your level from 1 to 10 on each investment. But belief in everything, conviction in everything you do, in your business, in your personal life, in your relationships. What do you believe? So I had talked about rule number one already about belief. And then I was talking about intuition. Because for me, as a former hedge fund manager, if I didn't trust my intuition investing, I either lost money or made less money than I would have if I had trusted it. And no financial advisor, no financial planner is going to tell you to trust your intuition. But before this past week or so, you might have been feeling worried. You felt like, maybe I should just take some money off the table. We know April 2nd is coming, and we know that's the day that things are going to change. So maybe I should just take some money off the table if I have fully invested so that I have some money just in case things go down so I could put more money in at lower prices. Maybe you had that idea. That's an intuitive hit, but you didn't take action on it. So I was explaining how when I was a professional money manager, and even today, I get intuitive hits all the time about what I should be doing with my money and and supporting my clients. I'm not a financial advisor, so I don't tell my clients what to do. They have processes that I teach them. And someone at the presentation said, but I can't use my intuition when it comes to investing, right? You can because you're a former professional investor, but I can't. And that's rule number one. Well, if you
Mm,
believe that to be the case, then yes, you can't. But I believe you can. And I believe everyone has the power within them to use their intuition to make a lot of money. And it may be stocks, it may be real estate, it may be crypto, it may be your business, but really understanding that you have the power within you to use your intuition, your instinct, your sixth sense to make really great investment decisions and make a ton of money in different markets. It could be in foreign exchange or commodities or gold or whatever. And but you have to believe that. That's the first
that's
step.
good.
If you don't believe it, it's not happening. And that person who asked the question said, you're professional. I'm a neophyte. I can't do that. Well, if you believe it, then it's true. But if you believe that you are just as powerful a creator as I am in investments, then you can.
That's good. So, Joe, what about somebody who says, "Well, Constance and Joel, I don't have the money. Can Spirit give me an idea? Can I get a $1 million download where I provide goods or services to people where I can attract and manifest more money? So, can a person tap into their own intuition to get that $1 million idea or that six-figure idea?"
Absolutely. And there's a great story in Think and Grow Rich, one of my favorite books by Napoleon Hill. I've read it 31 times now.
Ah, I'm not
And
surprised.
so there was a great story in there about this preacher who had decided years ago that he wanted to create a a place to educate children about the truth,
Mm,
the spiritual truth about prosperity, about how the world works. And he had this idea. He didn't know how it was going to come to fruition, but he knew he needed some money in order to create this educational institution. And finally, he decided, you know what? I've been pussyfooting around. I haven't been like taking strong action. Next week's sermon, when I go in, I'm going to give the speech from my heart. I'm going to tell people why this is important and why we need the money. And I truly believe I'm going to raise $1 million. This was, 80 years ago. So a million then was like
mm-hmm.
100 million today. And he memorized the speech. He was so sure. He was like, I know this is a good thing. I know I'm supposed to be doing this. And he he practices all morning. He gets to the church and he forgot his speech. He left his notes at home because he was so rushing out of the house. And he just decided to close his eyes and just tap into source and say the words that came through him and said, look, the only way this happens is with $1 million. The only way. And I know you guys here may not have it, but maybe talk to your friends. And he explained the whole institution and how it would work. And after he was done with the sermon, a man happened to be in the audience who came up to him and said, I like this idea. I like this idea very much. Will you meet me Monday morning in my office? And so the preacher goes to the office and the guy says, I'm giving you this check for $1 million. I just have one stipulation. You name this university after me. And I'm blanking on the name of the university now, but
That's
it's a
okay.
famous it's a famous university that's how it was started with this guy funny and the idea was the preacher had belief.
Yeah.
He really wanted to do this and he tapped into intuition, source, whatever. And so I believe we all have this ability, even if you're looking at your bank account and saying, where's the money going to come from? So I teach my clients, don't get bogged down in the cursed house. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to know how it's going to come. Did the preacher know that one person in the audience was going to stand up and say, hey, come to my, he had no idea.
No
He was
idea.
probably no idea. So don't get bogged down in the cursed house. Like we're not that smart. The universe has a plan. And if you have a great idea and it's worthwhile and serving the community, serving the universe, serving this earth, I truly believe that the universe will conspire on your behalf to help that idea come to fruition. And if you need 1 million or you need 10 million, somehow, I know it sounds crazy, right? It may sound crazy to some of you listening that, how? Come on. But don't get bogged down in the cursed house.
I love that. Man, we just got 10 minutes left. The time went by. I want you to share some of your testimonies from your mastermind prosperity group and invite people to join. I know you got some other coaching. So what is that group about? Because you guys have manifested over $3 million. Share with listeners what that is about.
So the Money Miracles membership has shifted over the
Okay,
years.
money miracles. Okay, gotcha.
So initially, we were just focused on mindset, but it's been expanded to teach 9 specific manifestation techniques, and investing. So right now it's a hybrid of group coaching and individual coaching. Anybody who comes in, they they make an investment in the program for 1 year, and they get 4 individual sessions with me,
Wow.
and they get weekly group calls all year long. Plus, I've recorded, at least, depending on the person, how long it takes, at least 6 months worth of videos. You
Wow.
you do at least an hour a month, so it's not a lot of time, but it's, and then you have an accountability partner that you're assigned to, so you
Great
go through the
community.
videos, and a great
Hmm.
community, and we meet every week, and I answer any question you have on mindset, manifestation techniques, investing. Um, like we talked about here, could be on, what's going on in the stock market, what's going on in property or crypto or other markets. It could just be mindset questions. Could be a specific manifestation technique we go over. And then we also have a reward system in the Money Miracles membership where you can win a free book, a free course, all the way up to free lifetime membership. And you get points for doing certain things like attending the weekly Q&A, posting in a private, we have a private Facebook group too, where people are posting their manifestations. And if you manifest at least $1,000 and you post there and outside our private Facebook group, you get more points. So it's so some examples of manifestations. We have a woman who had a dream to go to Italy 2 years ago. And she doesn't even, she's basically was living off of Social Security. No
Hmm.
idea how she could ever get there. And again, don't get bogged down in the house. I told her not think about how it could happen. Just get out into the world, take action, continue to work on her mindset. And she lives in Michigan, and she lives not too far from Michigan State. And she would hang out in the coffee shop there. And a professor she met was a visiting professor from Italy. And he didn't have a car, so she would drive him to campus. And he was so grateful after her doing this for 6 months. When he went back to Italy, he said, if you ever want to come to Italy, you have a place to stay.
Wow.
And soon after that happened, her son got a job at an airline, and family members get one free flight a year for this airline anywhere around the globe. So she got her free trip and free hotel lodging. And the guy also was giving her meat, like said, just come and we'll feed you too. So that
Wow.
was so she calculated $5,750 manifestation uh, for a free trip to Italy. We've had people get, like, people paying it forward here, I'll pay for your Uber ride, or somebody's driving on a toll road and the person in front of them pays for their toll, little things like that. We've had very large things where, um, for example, this woman was selling her house and got it appraised, and it was a second home. So she was renting it out to somebody. And so she went to the woman who she's renting it out to and said, look, you got 90 days. I'm selling the house. And the woman said, well, what if I were to buy it? And she said, well, it's a pretty big price. And the woman said, well, let me calculate how much I could pay. So she calculated based on her rent, how much she could pay, down payment, house. And she offered $180,000 more than
Wow.
the real estate broker appraised it for. So that was one of our biggest money manifestations. But every week somebody comes on to our weekly call and, oh, I just won a free course, $99, or I got a free coaching with
Hmm.
this woman for, $250. Every week people are coming on, and it's listening to those. I by the way, Constance, I love the calls because my vibration, maybe if I'm down here on the day,
I
I come
get
into
that.
my, I'm vibrating way up here after those calls. It's just so
Oh, amazing.
so awesome. Yeah.
Faith happens there. So how can people join that group, and how can people contact you for one-on-one coaching? So everybody, I'm just going to say this. I just got a little time left, but I'm just going to say it was the spirit that directed me to call Joel. I was just tending to my own little cute business, and I'm like, who can I contact? Your name dropped in my spirit, and then your picture popped up on my Instagram. I'm like, okay, God, I hear you. So this man is all about serving. He has wisdom. He's an expert in this field. He understands the law of attraction. He understands the spiritual part, but also he understands the real money market. And I'm strongly advising all of you who know me and know my integrity to really know that you can trust this man. So Joel, how can people contact you? What's your email, your get your books, join your mastermind group, etc.?
So Salomore.com is my website, SALEURMOR.com. And you'll have once you go there first time, you
Mm-hmm.
can sign up for my weekly. I can do a weekly email that goes out to a few thousand people, absolutely free. And then if you want to email me, it's joel@salomore.com. Feel free to do that. And on my website, under programs is the Money Miracles membership. You can click there, sign up. Look at all that we had tons of testimonials, video, audio, written testimonials of people that have manifested money. Crazy, awesome things have happened. My goal is to have at least 100,000 people become financially free. I'd love for anyone who's watching, listening, to become one of those financially free members. And you can sign up on my website or reach out to me if you have questions.
So thank you so much. You are the best, especially just getting back from an international trip last night and recording today. So everybody visit his website, take advantage of that gift of God that's on the inside of him, his expertise, and get in that vibration like he talked about of abundance and prosperity. And as I say every week, remember you are the creator, editor, script writer, and producer of your own day, of your own life. Make it happen, everybody. Have a great week.